Welcome to episode 278 of the Various Sunday Podcast. I am your host, Matt Harmon, joined live from the Vault Studio, beautiful campus of Grace College and Grace Theological Seminary, by my good friend, my colleague, my co-host, and the man who is ramping up for the Day of Giving, John Scott Sloat.
You know, I'm ramping up, and it is today, I suppose.
It's the day this episode drops on Tuesday, April 9th.
Yes, April 29th.
Yeah. You want to give a little blurb about Day of Giving?
Yeah. Let me. Oh my goodness, where did that email go?
I mean, you're kind of in charge of it, right?
I am. Okay, so Day of Giving is basically a day where we do an email campaign, letter campaign to raise money for the school. Every university has one.
Yeah.
Lots of non-profits have them.
Yep.
The springtime following taxes and everything, that's sort of the time of year where you start thinking about it, following the end of year probably when you were thinking about it before. So we do a big push. So I think we're doing 150,000 this year.
All right.
And we had a generous podcast listener offer a match for listeners.
Okay.
And I emailed them this morning. And so here's what they said. If they give by May 10th or some reasonable date, match up to $500 per donor.
Whoa, per donor?
So it's donor count up to a total of 10,000.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
How about that?
So VNS Pod listeners.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yes.
Grace.edu/give.
And it doesn't have to be on the Day of Giving. We've got like a 2-week-ish window here.
Basically to my anniversary is May 15th.
Okay.
So basically to my anniversary.
Okay. Yeah. Well, how exciting is that? Well, wow. I mean,
that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. That's exciting.
That's a really big deal.
That's exciting. I really wish we could publicly identify and thank this person, but you and I both know who it is, so obviously.
Yeah.
This person.
They definitely want to cap at 10,000, though. They definitely.
Okay. And that meaning matching.
Yes.
This individual will match up to a total of 10,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Man.
So get out and get generous.
Yeah. Yeah. We will have the info in the show notes where you can go online and I'm sure there are multiple ways to give.
Absolutely.
And it can be towards.
It's toward our Grace Fund.
Towards the Grace Fund.
Which goes towards student scholarships and other student opportunities on campus.
See, even better. You get to help out a student.
That's
maybe
that's
more
right.
than one student.
Grace students, they are real.
Yes, they exist. So.
I know a number of students even listen to the pod.
Yes.
I would love to see them get involved in this as well.
Yes.
You know, when you give online, you can give, $5, $10, $15.
Yeah. That's exciting. And do they have to do anything to flag it in?
That's a great question. So there's a little comment box when you give online. Just put VNS pod in the comment box or something to indicate
that this is for the matching gift.
That's right. You could put Lord bless y'all real good.
That would be fabulous.
Yeah. in the comment box, and my team. That email goes to my team and to the president's office. So
that would be great.
I will get questions about that, and it will be wonderful.
That's great. How about that? All right. Well, all right, VNS Pod listeners, time for you to
move
through.
This machine.
That's
you
right.
know.
That's right. That's awesome. That is fabulous. Okay. Well, if you would like to contact the show, you can find us on X at VNSPod. You can email the show, variousandsunderpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and on YouTube, and we would love for you to leave a 5-star rating of the show on whatever platform you access it.
Yep. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Pocket Cast, Overcast.
What are you using these days for your podcasts?
I use Pocket Cast.
Do you?
Okay. Yeah.
You like it?
I'm used to it now, so I'm basically in.
Okay.
It does not have some of the high-end features I think that Apple Podcast has added in the last year or two.
Okay.
But It's what I know.
Yeah.
It's what I like. I know how to queue episodes up to listen to them easily when I'm driving. So,
Gotcha. Okay. Very
how
good.
about yourself? You're an Overcast guy, aren't
I
you?
am. I'm still not fully satisfied with it.
I'm not sure I'm satisfied with any of them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have switched over to Overcast if I was fully satisfied with Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever tried Amazon or Spotify?
No, I have not.
I find I just get lost. Trying to find the right episode at the right time.
Well, to me, for Spotify feels like that's not what that's designed for. Spotify is designed as a music. Look, I know they have podcasts. I get it, but like it feels more like that was a music subscription service that decided we should add podcasts.
Yes.
As opposed to specifically designed for podcasts. So, in any case. All right, John, let's talk some sports. We have a lot of ground to cover.
We do.
Big weekend of sports. Where do you want to start?
Well, do you want to start NFL?
Yeah, let's do it. NFL draft.
Yeah. Ohio State players?
14.
You happy with where they ended up?
Yeah, I think for the most part.
I don't think the Jets drafted any Ohio State players.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's always something I look for.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. I feel like, I mean, I hate the Patriots, so I'm a little disappointed that two Buckeyes went to the Patriots. So, but I can still root for the individual to do well and hope for the team to get absolutely obliterated.
Yeah. Pro Bowl player.
Yeah.
Trash team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 4 Ohio State players in the first round. So, yeah, it was a good draft for them. They had probably 15 guys that could have been drafted. So one fell short, which was a little surprising. Of the guy that fell short was Seth McLaughlin, who was their All-American and Remington winning center, like the best center in college football.
Really?
Didn't even get drafted.
I'm sure he got signed.
Yeah. He did an undrafted free agent.
Where'd he sign?
I think Cincinnati.
Okay. Poor guy.
Now he's had some injury issues, so I think that's probably why he didn't get drafted. But in any case, let's talk Jets, and then we'll talk about the big story.
The big story.
Draft. Yeah.
So Jets went right tackle out of I'm trying to remember where he was out of. Missouri, maybe.
Sure.
Supposed to be very, very good. Very, very excited about him. And then we went Jason Taylor's son.
All right.
As a tight end out of LSU. Pass catching tight end. Youngest player in the draft, 20 years old. And then we got a cornerback out of Florida State, who apparently Florida State was very, very bad this year.
This last year they were terrible.
And this guy was like the one shining light on Florida State. And then, after the third round, you're sort of like at a bit of a, well, let's hope something works, So that's the Jets draft. I think it was.
Have you seen grades? I mean, these draft experts come out and go, "Oh, the Jets, give them a B." Now, in one sense, it's dumb because you really can't evaluate a draft until like 3 years out.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's big business, so of course all the draft experts are got to come out who did the ridiculous mock drafts and got to come out and go, "Oh, well, give the Jets a B+."
Well, that's why I always
like
like Mel Kiper's mock draft because he goes, "This is what this team should do."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We'll talk about Mel Kiper in a moment.
But yeah, I think I haven't seen specific draft grades, but everything I've seen from the beat writers are like, "Oh yeah, really pleased. This is good. We're just moving in the right direction."
All right.
So we did not draft a quarterback, which I'm thrilled with, although there was ample opportunity.
There was. Yeah. All right. You ready for our discussion of the big story of the draft here?
Yeah, I hope I have all the details down because it was an 3-day saga.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. So we're talking about Shedeur Sanders, son of Deion Sanders.
Yep.
Quarterback. And actually, let's make note first. Cam Ward was the number 1 pick, went to the Titans out of Miami.
Yep.
So
good quarterback, right?
I mean, good quarterback. I think that's again, it's a pretty weak quarterback class. I think he probably was the best out of it.
Yeah.
But the quarterback that some draft folks thought was probably the number 2 QB in the draft was Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
And he was not drafted in the first round.
He wasn't even the second quarterback taken.
He was not drafted in the second round either, or the third, or the fourth. He was drafted in the 5th round.
By who? Who ended up with him? Oh,
that would
you
be,
want to know what? Yes, I do know.
That'd be the Cleveland Browns. Did you see the little video clip of when they announced the pick?
No.
Like there's the head coach, and I think must have been a front office guy who, in their war room, they panned, and it's like right up on them, and they both look like they are fully checked out and annoyed. It gives the total vibes of
they just lost.
The owner made us pick this kid. We didn't want him. The owner made us do it. So that's what we did. It's hilarious.
All right, couple things. One, did you hear? You know how they have ESPN, ABC? Somebody is in the room with them, videotaping.
Yeah.
Everything. The Sanders family did not allow that.
Yes.
They had their own film crew there.
Of course.
They wanted to own the material.
Yep.
So that was one thing, and I think that's a bit of a red flag.
A little bit.
And then you heard about the prank.
Yes.
Did you know who did the prank?
It was the son of the defensive coordinator for the Falcons. Is that right?
Yes. Who is Jeff Ulbrich, who is the interim head coach for the Jets last season.
Okay. All right.
Who did the prank call.
All right.
And the reason he saw that is because Jeff Ulbrich had the paper out at his house, and his son saw it when he was over visiting, wrote it down, or took a picture of it, probably more likely, and took it back and did the prank call.
Yeah. So there's so many angles to this. Now, I did not watch. All I saw was a lot of buzz on Twitter about Mel Kiper having a mental breakdown about this.
I saw one tweet about this.
Like, the impression given was that the whole first round, like the banter by him was just him going apoplectic about the fact that Shedeur Sanders wasn't being drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And then it happened again, I guess, in the second round as well. And so, in any case,
why wasn't he drafted in the first round? If everybody felt, I guess not everybody felt that way, but if all the mock draft guys thought he was that good, they normally don't miss that badly.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't he go in the first round?
Well, I mean, I think there are two narratives. I think one's right and one's wrong.
Okay.
One narrative is that it's based on race.
Oh, okay.
Which I think
who's a proponent of that narrative? By the way?
I don't.
I mean, the family is, right?
I want to be careful about. I think Stephen A. Smith, of course, is on the bandwagon, and there's some other ESPN folks. That's absurd. It's absurd. As others have pointed out, NFL owners are billionaires who tend to be cutthroat and want to win at any cost.
Yeah.
And, I mean, look at the contract that was given to Deshaun Watson after multiple allegations of impropriety. Mm-hmm. And yet an NFL franchise gave him – was it the biggest quarterback contract ever at the time? At the time, something like that?
I believe so. You realize they're on the same team now?
Yes. But my point is that narrative is absurd. NFL owners don't care about that issue. If they think that player will help them win, they'll draft him. So the other narrative is that nobody wants the drama of Deion and his and Shedeur's entourage. Nobody wants it. and he's not good enough that you're like, we'll put up with it because he's that good. There are some players that are so good that you're like, I don't care about the garbage that comes with him. He is next level generational talent kind of thing.
Aaron Rodgers was one of them.
Right. Or
Dion was one of them.
Yes. Yes. But nobody wants to mess with that.
Yeah.
No one wants to bring that into their locker room. And there's all these reports, again, unnamed sources and that sort of stuff. But these guys seem to be pretty connected to NFL executives who are talking about how Shedeur came into interviews and they're like, he was the most arrogant, self-consumed little punk we've ever interviewed. And when asked, apparently, why should we draft you? Because I'm going to come in and change the culture of your team. No NFL owner wants to hear that. No coaches want to hear that. Now, if you come in and say, I'm going to come in and compete hard to win, okay.
Yeah.
But nobody wants that.
I heard he was asked the question, again, this is an unnamed source, supposedly from an exec, but where do you see yourself in 5 years? Did you see this one?
Yeah.
Mayor of the city.
Yeah. Yeah. And who wants the drama of when he's not playing, of having Dion out there publicly talking about why his kid's not playing, or calling up the coach or the team? Even at the college level, coaches don't necessarily put up with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some programs will look at a player and go, he's good, but man, the dad is just going to drive us crazy. He's not worth it. So we'll move on, even though he's good.
Yeah.
I think you're getting the same dynamic here because who wants Dion out there publicly giving him trash? And so, I just think that is by far the most natural explanation of who wants that mess in their locker room. And man, when you come into an NFL locker room like that with grown men,
yeah,
men who are 30, 32 and have been playing in the league for 8-10 years,
have families,
they don't want to put up with that garbage.
Yep.
So yeah, and of course the Browns pick him.
Of course, it feels inevitable, doesn't it? Like people kept saying the Steelers, the Oakland Raiders.
Now the Raiders would have made sense given their reputation.
Yes, but
gosh, the Browns, come on.
It feels like Johnny Manziel 2.0.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Ridiculous. Anyway, you want to talk briefly NBA playoffs, I mean.
Yeah, Knicks are up 3-1.
Yes. Would you like to comment on the semi-controversial ending of Game 4?
I think it was most likely a foul.
Okay. Yes. So Pistons were down 2.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Last possession of the game.
Yeah.
Ball gets kicked
1 or
out
2.
Ball gets kicked out to the corner. Tim Hardaway Jr., right, that took the shot for the Pistons. And live, they didn't call a foul, but when you look at the replay, looks like there's contact. And then after the game, the lead official was asked about the play, and he said, during live action, looked like it was legal. Upon review after the game, that should have been a foul.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Knicks are a better team. They'll win that. But, there's a difference between being up 3-1 and being tied 2-2. That's a big difference. Yeah. Speaking of being down 3-1, the Lakers down 3-1 to the T-Wolves. That's a 3-6 matchup.
Yeah. Oof. Golden State's up 2-1 on Houston.
Though that Game 4 is tonight as we record. So
tonight at 10 o'clock. It won't be done until tomorrow.
It's like 2 hours past your bedtime.
The start time is like an hour past my bedtime. Yeah. Denver Clippers are at 2-2.
That's been a good series, good entertaining series.
Oklahoma City swept Memphis.
Yep, no surprise.
Boston's up 3-1. Knicks are up 3-1. Pacers up 3-1.
Yep.
Cleveland up 3-0. They played tonight.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. All right. Anything else from the sports world you want to talk about?
Can I rant real quick about MLB umpires?
Sure. I mean, it's your podcast too.
What's reviewable and what's not reviewable in the MLB is just ridiculous.
You're talking about the triple play.
Did you see this?
I saw it on Twitter. Yeah.
Drove me bananas. I was watching live and I went like, that looked like it hit the ground.
Yeah.
And then, upon further review, it definitely hit the ground first.
But it couldn't be reviewed, right? Or there's
I don't know why. That play in the outfield can be reviewed.
Okay.
But on the infield, because dirt matters, it can't be reviewed. So we ended up losing that game. I think that was at least a part of it. We were cooking there with 2 men on, and we would have ended up with a man on third, at least, if not 2 people on.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
All right, John, we got to move on here to our main topic for the day. Oh, actually, before we do that, I want to give a reminder. Our summer read. We have selected our summer read. Matt Smether's book, Tim Keller and the Christian Life.
Very excited about that.
Yes. So go ahead and get a copy of that. And we have locked in our author interview with Matt. And so we're good to go.
Sometime in June, right? First week of June?
Yeah, I think the interview episode should come out, I think, June 10th.
That sounds right.
So, all right. Now for our main topic of the day. We, as our long-term listeners are aware of, are fans of the annual report State of the Bible. And so they released their first report for 2025, and it is focused on the Bible in America today. So each month, so in April they release this, and then in May they'll release more data on a different angle, and they do this through November, I think. So,
and then they'll go back and they'll do it all again.
Do it all again, yeah.
And they're starting to get some notoriety for this. I don't know if you've paid attention. Well, I got sent I don't know how this got sent to me, but there's a researcher down at Indiana University of Indianapolis.
Okay.
And they house the Lilly School of Philanthropy, the Lilly Family School of Philanthropy down there.
All right.
And they do research around philanthropy. And I got my hands on Religion and Philanthropy, an article by one of my favorite named fundraisers, Bill Stanvikevich.
Stanvikevich. It's a great name.
And in there, he footnotes this report around the Bible and generosity and how it relates to religion and generosity.
Well, and the fact that they have data now stretching, a good 8 years back.
You can see some real trends.
Allows you to see those kind of trends. So let's talk about some of the headlines here. So let's start with their definition here, which, again, very broad, right? So they're defining Bible users as those who connect with Scripture on their own at least 3 times a year. That's a very low bar.
That's less than once a quarter.
Yeah. Once every 4 months, they're cracking their Bible. Okay, so, I don't even know if you can call that a bar, right? Like, that's pretty low.
Now, that would not include church attendance, right? Because it's not on their own.
Correct. So that has to be outside of them being in attendance at a church service.
They even admit this is a low bar.
Yeah. But the big movement here is that it's on the uptick in terms of both raw number and percentage from last year. It had been in decline the last 3 years. 22, 23, and 24 had been in decline. And now there's an uptick in percentage of the population that falls into that category. 41%.
Up from 38% at the low bar of last year.
Yes. Now, admittedly, it was, in 2021, it was 50%. So it's still significantly down from then, but a little uptick in the right direction. There's a lot of data in here. Where do you want to go next?
So
So 10 million more American adults are Bible users this year compared to last year.
Do you want to go to the generation breakdown?
Yeah, let's do that. Remind me, I've got a little bit of a little nugget about Bible sales that I want to throw in here somewhere. So if I don't get to it, remind me.
Are you going door to door selling Bibles now?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right, John. Which generation is leading the way in terms of an increase in greater Bible use?
Boomer Plus. Yeah, they're at 40, 45, 46.
In terms of total percentage, but in terms of
biggest gap?
Increase.
It looks like millennials.
It's the millennials, yes. That's
my people.
That's your people, yeah. Yeah, so, but, I mean, in every category, it's up from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Every generational, with the exception of
Gen Z.
Gen Z is flat, so exact same number. Every other one is up among
millennials are up 9%. Gen X is up, which is your people, right?
Those are my people, yeah.
5%.
What's really interesting, though, is that when you break that down by men and women, there's a noticeable, and this ties into our conversation even last week about the quiet revival in
they're related,
in the UK.
Right?
But this is stats for America, not for the UK.
Correct, yeah.
So the increase is coming from men. The numbers among women are basically flat or even a little bit down.
Except for millennial women.
Except for millennial women, which they're up 10%. But all of the categories of men in terms of Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, Boomer Plus, and then just overall, men are up across the board in that. And by more than, other than Gen Z, which is a 1-point increase, we're talking 8 points among millennials, up 10 points among the Gen X folks, and up 6 points among Boomers Plus. So leading to a 7% increase overall. So again, that ties in with our discussion last week that there really seems to be more spiritual. I think we'll categorize this maybe as perhaps more spiritual interest among men than women currently in those demographics.
Yeah, and I would add this. Like, I know, interesting statistics happening in Britain. Well, I mean, we're kind of all part of the Western world, so to speak. So it makes sense that these would, while not be they wouldn't be identical, they would grow together.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's move to the breakdown by region. I thought this was really interesting. So they break down the U.S. into West, Midwest, South, and Northeast. And even in what I'm not crazy about that breakdown is the West is a pretty big area there. And I feel like Pacific Northwest is different than, say, I don't know, Utah, for example. Those are two pretty different. Mm-hmm. But in any case, in every geographic region, the percentage of Bible users has gone up, including the Northeast, where it's gone up 5%.
And that's a wild percentage for the Northeast.
Yeah.
And the West, while the West is up 6%, that doesn't necessarily surprise me as much because that does include a number of areas that I would expect to be more Bible engaged.
Yeah.
California's California, but it has believing pockets in it.
Well, and you think about, like I said, Utah, heavy Mormon population, which would fall into this category.
They would, yeah.
And so I think, you've got some of those Western, more conservative-leaning states, and then lumped in with Washington and Oregon in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. Even in the Midwest, it's up significantly.
Yeah, up 5 points from 34 to 39. Yeah.
The South is only up a point, though. Now, I will say they had a higher floor with their 24 numbers, right? Starting at 47, moving to 48.
And they still remain the highest of all the regions by a good, well, now it's 9 points over the Midwest and the West.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Bible Belt is still there in that sense.
Yeah. By the way, what do you think the Bible Belt is? Like, have you ever gotten into this where like wherever people are from, they think they're a part of the Bible Belt?
Yeah.
So I always thought of it as like the the South.
Yes.
But I talked to somebody from Michigan who goes, well, Grand Rapids, the Bible Belt.
No, that's not Bible Belt.
I don't think so either.
No. Now, I mean, Grand Rapids is one of it's probably the center of evangelical publishing in the United States.
Sure.
With Chicago suburbs being a second behind it, with Crossway and IVP being located there.
No arguments, but
yeah,
I remember getting into this conversation when I was in college. Like, what is the Bible Belt?
I mean, Alabama's the Bible Belt. Mississippi's the Bible Belt in my mind.
Georgia, Tennessee.
Yeah. Probably Arkansas as well.
South Carolina.
Yeah, probably. So in any case,
Louisiana, part of the Bible Belt?
Maybe.
It's too French, right? I mean,
I don't know. They also break it down by race/ethnicity. And what was interesting to me is that every demographic is up in terms of Bible users, except for Hispanics that are down 1 point. So, that's within that's within a margin of error that could be flat, basically. But among whites, it's up 4 points. Among Asians, it's up 16 points.
That's wild.
But the demographic that leads by far is among blacks, with 68% of them being Bible engaged. All right. And then they break it down by religion, right? So evangelical Protestant, mainline Protestant, historically black Protestant, Roman Catholic, other, and none. Anything that stood out to you there?
Evangelical Protestant up a single point.
Yeah, to me that feels flat. Like, again, 1 point feels like it's got to be within the margin of error.
But has the highest ceiling, or has the highest floor, I should say.
Yes, though among historically black Protestants, there was a jump of 9 points from 63 to 72.
I'm surprised mainline Protestants remained flat.
At 41?
Yeah.
You're expecting decline?
I was.
Okay, maybe.
Roman Catholic?
Yeah, a slight uptick, 34, up from 31.
Other religion?
I mean, I assume that includes Mormon and...
Let's see. Other religion includes non-Christian religions like Judaism, Hinduism, Islam, and Buddhism.
Huh, not Mormon? Are
they don't have Mormon listed in the footnote.
Mormon into... I hope they're not throwing... I wonder where they're throwing that in. That's interesting. Okay.
And then I think one of the more interesting ones is the nuns.
Yeah, which was down what?
Down 2 points.
From 7 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What else jumped out to you? They have Bible users by faith participation segments. So, they break it down between practicing Christian, casual Christian.
Those feel like some of the same things we saw last year.
Nominal Christian, non-Christian, yeah. And then they have their whole breakdown of Bible disengaged, movable middle, and Scripture engaged. I don't know that those really jumped out to me. But, yeah, I mean, in some ways it seems kind of obvious that those who are identified as practicing Christians, and they have their definition. I'll just scroll past it here. Their definition of practicing Christian, let me find it here. Those who say they're Christian attend church, either in person or online, at least once a month, and consider their faith very important to them. And they put that at about 1/5 of Americans. That feels high.
Do you think that feels high?
Maybe. I don't know. To me,
It's hard to get a feel for all Americans
I
when
know.
you're a part of it. You know?
But the practicing Christian definition, attend church at least once a month. I mean, that's again not an especially high bar. But I think. Let's see here. What else? I mean, there's more we could talk about in here. What jumps out to you that you want to?
What did you make of the digital Bible platform preference? Like what groups enjoyed the Bible over a specific digital medium? So they have Bible app, Bible-based website, which just screams boomer to me. YouTube, podcast, Facebook, TV, radio, Instagram.
Now that screams boomer.
TV, radio.
Boomer plus right there.
Yes. Or TikTok.
That's definitely not boomer plus right there.
Oh, that's definitely Z, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And this is something that I don't think this is my age coming through. Because, look, you and I both access Scripture digitally, regularly.
You almost have to. Yeah.
And yet, I still have a preference for a print copy in terms of actually, reading. Like, for me, if I'm accessing something digitally, it's either for, deep dive study in the Greek text and Hebrew text, and so lots of resources available, or it's I need a quick, look at a Bible verse. And so you look it up, and I use the ESV app for mine. But that's, when I sit down to read the Bible in the morning, it's a print copy of Scripture.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think there's something that's preferable and not just personal preference. I think for me, the tangible nature of a book is something that's important in that context, and the fact that I don't have other things on that device competing for my attention when I'm reading the Bible. Whereas if you're on your phone, a notification pops up, or you get a text, or something pops up that easily distracts you.
Yeah, I don't know if I have – my objection is more to the smartphone as a whole.
Yeah.
Than it is to, as I read this article off my smartphone, than it is to specifically having the Bible on the smartphone. I think having a paper copy of Scripture is just good for me because it gets me off my phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Do you want to drop your anecdote here about Bible sales? Would this be a good spot?
Sure. I was talking with someone in the Bible publishing world at this past week.
Oh, okay.
And I was stunned by, they were talking about what kind of Bible is seeing the most growth. Print Bible. What kind of print Bible? So would you have a guess as to what style of print Bible? Now think of the big categories of print Bibles.
You don't mean versions.
No, I don't mean version. I don't mean NIV, ESV.
Do you mean thin line, Pocket New Testament, study?
Yes.
That more that
yes.
ilk.
Yep.
Boy, that's a good question. I
wasn't stunned by what kind is leading the way. I was stunned by the percentage of increase in sales.
Well, now that you've said that, I feel like I have to go off the wall here. My assumption would be study Bible.
That's a good guess. It's not right, but it's a good guess.
Okay.
It's journaling Bibles.
Oh, okay. That was not in my head at all.
And, I would have guessed, they're up 10 or 15%. They're up 1,000% in terms of sales,
Really?
just explosion of sales.
Really?
In journaling Bibles. That basically what's happening is people are buying these, and they mark in the margins and journal and that sort of thing. And then when they're
They go out and buy another
They
one.
buy another one. Yeah. So fascinating to me. That doesn't fit. I mean, to me, that actually fits here because that's hard copy print, right? And that's very tangible. You're writing in a margin. You're marking up the text, that kind of thing.
You ever been a journaler much?
A little bit,
Really?
occasionally.
I have not been.
Okay. So, yeah. Anything else here? I mean, there's more in the report that we could talk about.
We're getting to the end of our time here.
Yeah. So I did want to highlight, they have this chart on attitudes about the Bible.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of how they parsed this out because they kind of gave statements where people could respond about. So one of them, the Bible is the actual word of God and should be taken literally word for word. 14% of respondents chose that as their option. The Bible is the inspired word of God and has no errors, although some verses are meant to be symbolic rather than literal. 23%.
Depends how you define that, like.
Yes. I think even if you press the people in that first category, I don't know how you can't.
Sometimes a literal reading is a symbolic reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this says some verses are meant to be symbolic. So when Jesus says, I am the door, he's not a piece of wood with hinges and a door handle. So, in any case. But so between those two categories, 37% of respondents fit there. And then you get another 14%. The Bible is the inspired word of God, but has some factual or historical errors. Yeah, just fascinating. In any case, we will put a link in the show notes.
Your frustration with those first two categories.
Yeah.
Everything else feels like a bridge too far beyond that.
Sure. Yeah. I just making a distinction between those first two categories for me is like, okay, I don't. You're trying to make a distinction that I really don't think is there.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're trying to get at there, I think, but in any case, we will put a link to this in the show notes for you to check it out. My takeaway is pastors, people in ministry, we should take advantage of people's interest in the Bible. And I think these numbers show us that there is a growing interest in the Bible, and there needs to be more intentional efforts to help equip people to know how to better read their Bibles. Mm-hmm. And so it's unfortunate that no one's written a book on that.
Yeah, if only people could ask the right questions.
I know. If they could only go to the Crossway website and find a book called Asking the Right Questions, they would be better off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, John, time to move on for this day in sports history.
All right, this day in sports history, April the 29th, also known as Spring Day of Giving at Grace College.
That's right.
1751. Boy, that's a long time ago.
Older than our country.
Yeah, that's a long, long time ago.
That's the only reason I picked it, is because it's so long ago.
The New York Gazette, which I've actually never heard of. When was the New York Gazette? I mean, obviously in the 1700s, but probably a British-leaning newspaper.
Filthy rag of a,
Said something about King George, I'm sure. And the New York, I need to start over. The New York Gazette and Postboy. Who is Postboy? Is that another publication?
I imagine so, yeah.
Carries first public report of a cricket match played in America. New York 11 versus London 11. On the site of what is today the Fulton Fish Market in Manhattan, New York.
Yeah, there you go.
No report of who won, huh?
I guess not.
I've never heard of the Fulton Fish Market.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah, that's a long time ago.
That is a long time ago. 1970. Jumping forward just 220 years.
Yeah.
Los Angeles Lakers guard Jerry West. The logo. Hit a 60-foot buzzer beater against the New York Knicks, sad day, to send Game 3 of the NBA Finals into overtime at Madison Square Garden. the Knicks ultimately won the game 112-108.
Yeah.
All right, where are we? 1981. These are some of my least favorite words in the English language. The Philadelphia Phillies.
Yes.
Steve Carlton is the first lefty to strike out 3,000 batters.
That kind of surprised me. Kind of surprised me.
1986, NFL draft, Auburn running back Bo Jackson, first picked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I'd forgotten he was drafted by the Buccaneers.
Now, how did he end up on the Raiders?
I think because he said he wasn't going to play for Tampa Bay and just went to baseball. And then somehow, I think at that point, then somewhere along the way, the Buccaneers probably traded his draft rights to the Raiders.
To the Raiders?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've watched the 30 for 30 on Bo. It's one of the better ones.
That was probably, I've seen it. That was probably the creamsicle days of the.
Oh yeah. Those are rough uniforms.
Of the Buccaneers, yeah. 2011, Zach Randolph. Now, he always had an ability to, like, jump without leaving the ground.
Yeah.
Like, he 12 rebounds, feet firmly planted on the ground the whole game.
Yes.
Scored 31 points as the 8-seeded Memphis Grizzlies upset the top-seeded San Antonio Spurs 99-91 at the FedEx Forum. With the win, the Grizzlies also won the first round of the NBA playoffs 4-2.
Not often you see the 8 seed beat the 1 seed.
Yeah. 2018, Spanish tennis great Rafael Nadal equals his open-era record for most wins at the same event, 11 at Monte Carlo, with his 11th Barcelona ATP title.
All right. So who do you like? I know we're not going the 1751, and we're not going Steve Carlton. So that leaves us with the logo, Bo Jackson, and I doubt you're going with the tennis. So
yeah, I'm not a tennis guy.
I don't think you're going Zach Randolph either.
I'm kind of the logo. I don't think we've had Jerry West in a while.
Probably been a while. You want to go with Jerry West?
I'll go Jerry West.
Okay.
He's passed, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I think he's passed.
All right. Jerry West it is.
Okay.
One thing you like.
All right. I am going to apparently I mentioned last week that we had ordered a new bed and bed set from Costco, and they showed up at my house this weekend to assemble it for me. It was great.
Yeah.
I am going to rep the blanket that we got for that bed from Big Blanket Company.
Big Blanket Company.
So this is not a paid ad, but this is an endorsement. They make the largest comforter on the market.
Okay.
And the days of fighting over that blanket are over.
So this is a potential marriage saver for folks
Absolutely.
out there. And
absolutely.
Can you get varying like thicknesses of, or is this like?
So they have several different kinds. So they have sort of we got the duvet insert with the duvet cover.
Okay.
One, that's I think their biggest one meant to go into bed. But they make them that are like the Sherpa fur on the inside. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
They do that. They've
no actual Sherpas were harmed in the production of it, correct?
I have no clue. But it was awesome. It's been great.
All right. So that was what was it again? The Big
Blanket Company.
Blanket Company. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go with my time at TGC last week, Gospel Coalition Conference. That was a lot of fun. Got to hang out with a wide range of people. Good to see Zach from Ohio and a good chunk of his pastoral team, as well as Joel in Ashland.
And you are Matthew S. Harmon, right?
Yes. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes. Fun conversation with Andrew Wilson about that. Yes. So, but yeah, it was good to see people. Had a good meeting with Crossway about a little project I'm cooking up here.
Of course you are.
Always got something going. So yeah, just and the plenary messages that I was in there for were very good. Very
Nice.
good. I would recommend Andrew Wilson's especially.
Ooh,
It's very good. British accent.
very big of you. Very big of you to recommend him.
Yes, British accent.
Do you need to tell the story real quick?
Do you want me to?
I kind of do. Yeah.
Okay, so I met Andrew Wilson 2 years ago at the at TGC, and this year I bumped into him at the Crossway booth, and I had gone there to find out where's the Crossway authors lunch at, what room is that in, and so I was chatting with the Crossway people, and then Andrew Wilson comes up. That was, this is like an hour after he'd spoken from the front. In any case, he comes up and he asks the same question. And I said, well, I'm headed up there. I'll just walk with you. And he looks at me and goes, I feel like I know you. And I said, well, I'm Matt Harmon. And we met, a couple years ago at TGC. And, we're chatting and talking. And I could tell he's still not placing me. And I said, well, I wrote a blurb for one of your books on the Exodus, and this look of abject terror comes across his face of embarrassment, and he apologized. He goes, "Wait, so you're Matthew S. Harmon?"
Oh, Matthew S. Harmon.
Yes. He's like, "Oh, of course, yes, of course. I am so sorry." So. Yes, apparently I need to start using Matthew S. Harmon when introducing myself in certain contexts. So
That's how I'll refer to you on the pod from now on. It's Matthew. Matthew S. Harmon.
yeah, something like that. There is a Matthew P. Harmon out there who's an Old Testament guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's also a Matthew Harmon that does like
Fantasy football.
no.
Well, there's a Matt Harmon that does fantasy football.
I believe there's a Harmon out there. Maybe it's not Matthew, but does like how to make millions selling weed or something like that.
Have I been told that? I can't remember. That sounds vaguely familiar.
It definitely comes up on Amazon, his book.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yes, that's under my pseudonym. Yeah, my pseudonym that I so cleverly just used the same name as my own. All right. And that is my one thing I liked. A friendly reminder, we have chosen our summer read. Go out and get Tim Keller on the Christian Life by Matt Smethurst.
And also a friendly reminder, there is a matching opportunity for Day of Giving up through May, we'll say 10th.
Yeah. And we'll put a link in the show
giving
notes
page. Absolutely.
to get you there. We have a generous listener of the pod who will match up to $10,000.
$10,000. Yeah. And I believe it's a gift per giver.
Yeah.
So it's not dollar for dollar even, which I don't even have verbiage for. So
Yeah. All right.
even though I just tried to have some.
We are on the cutting edge here. Yes. Innovative, as always. All right, John, we have talked about the NFL draft. We have talked about the state of the Bible in America. We have talked about the logo, Jerry West. We have talked about the big blanket company. We have talked about my time at the Gospel Coalition Conference. And so, I think, by definition, we have covered our various and sundry topics. And so all that's left to say is, until next time, the Lord bless you all real good.
Later.